Hello everyone, how are you doing? Today's video is called, wait for it, drum roll, college resources that you probably don't use, but you should. Now this is actually part one of this video because if I were to make one video on all of the college resources that you probably don't use, but you should, then it would be a really long video and you would probably stop watching it halfway through. So this is part one and I'm really excited to do this video. College resources are one of those things that I don't know, I just get super excited to talk about because I'm like the type of person that I want to take advantage of every sort of opportunity that I can. Like if I book a hotel room, I ask them if there's a AAA discount. If I go to Bed Bath & Beyond, I make sure I have my 20% off coupon. I'm just that type of person. I want to make sure that I am taking advantage of all of the opportunities that I can. And there are so many opportunities available on college campuses that I don't know, it's just crazy. I don't see a lot of students taking advantage of these college resources and opportunities, and not only will they benefit you academically, but they will improve your life and benefit your life overall. So if you're interested in learning all about college opportunities and resources that are probably on your very own campus, then make sure you watch the rest of this video. If you're new here, welcome. I am the pink-haired professor. I'm a college writing instructor, a published author, and a total unabashed nerd. This channel focuses on college success and writing tips. So if you need a little extra help on your academic journey, look no further, I got your back. Like and subscribe to my channel. These resources are not ranked. They're in no particular order. They were just kind of like in the order that I wrote them down in. So just know that there's no like number one college resource. All right, they're all good. They're all good and they all kind of fulfill a different function. But the first one I want to talk about is your campus health center. So most college campuses have a health center. Now, I will admit, when I was in community college, I think I only used mine a couple times, but if you go to a public school or even really any school, I think private schools have them as well, your school most likely has a health center. Now, that health center usually has tons of services that you can take advantage for either free or at very low cost. So for example, you can get medical exams there. If you are a woman, you can get your yearly OBGYN exam there. You can get contraceptives. If you're sick with like a sinus infection, they will often prescribe you antibiotics. So they have sort of general medical care there. You will need to kind of check in with your specific health center to see when either the nurse practitioner is seeing students or when doctors are seeing students. But generally, you can get a medical appointment within a few days or even sometimes immediately if you need one at your health center. Other services that health centers generally offer on campus are, for example, free medication. The health center where I work, they have this like little, they call it an apothecary, but it's really just like this little cabinet that has like Advil, sinus medication, condoms, like kind of anything you can think of that students may need, and they can just drop by, select what they need or they want, and go about their day. So free medicine is also another perk that those health centers often have. My health center where I work actually has a massage therapist that comes in twice a week, and students can book a massage and they can get up to 4 free massages a semester, which I've never heard about that. I've worked at lots of different schools. I don't know if my school is like particularly unique or if this is like a more recent trend in addressing health. But I think that's awesome because that can be up to where like, what's a massage these days? Like $100 an hour? That's like $400 worth of services that you're getting for $15 a semester. Another thing that my health center offers at my school is acupuncture and acupressure. So that might be something to kind of keep a lookout. I've worked at schools where they also offer free vision exams, like a couple times a semester. You just have to book ahead of time. So really check out that health center because they have lots of services. Oh yeah, they also usually have therapy or counseling. So if you're suffering from depression or anxiety or just general stress, which most students are at some point during their academic career, then make sure to check out those services and get help if you need them. So every health center is going to be different. I suggest you go online and look at your campus website or your college's website and just kind of figure out what services and perks they can provide you, the health center can provide you. The second resource that you probably don't use but you should is your campus gym. Now, like I've said before, I've worked at lots of different colleges, and the kind of like, I don't know, like fanciness of the gyms really depends on the campus, but every single school I've worked at has at bare minimum a weight room and then cardio machines. And yes, they might not be as fancy as like, I don't know, what's the fanciest gym out there? Equinox? Is that even open? I have no idea. It's not as fancy as those fancy gyms, but they provide you the ability and the facility to work on your physical health, and then you can often do those for free. So keep an eye out for those gyms. I've worked at schools where they have a climbing wall in the gym. They had a saltwater pool, which was like super fancy. What other perks have they offered? Some of them even offered like student-led personal training. So where I went for my undergrad, they had a kinesiology major, and those students would offer free personal training sessions, which I thought was really cool. So check out your gym, see what it has to offer, and really take advantage of that, because gym memberships can be really pricey. I currently spend $50 a month for my gym membership. That is $600 a year. I did the math. So if I were a student, I could take advantage of a gym and save that $600 a year. So check out that gym. It'll save you money, and it'll help you just stay in physical shape, which also helps with things like stress and depression and anxiety. Right, Disco? My dog has been sitting on my lap this whole time, and he's very warm and fluffy, and it is hot outside, and I'm very hot. I'm very warm. Sometimes campus gyms will even have weekly or daily classes that you can take advantage of, like yoga or Pilates, things like that. So make sure you check out that schedule and see if you can pop into those classes. So something that's kind of related to this resource of the gym is that check out your school's physical education opportunities. For example, at my school, you can take a yoga class for the whole semester. It meets once or twice a week. You get 16 weeks of yoga classes for like, I don't know, $45 or something like that, which is really cheap when you compare it to like taking drop-in classes at a yoga studio. They also have like a walking class, running class, weightlifting, self-defense, swimming. So really check out your school's physical education opportunities, because typically you could take those for really, really cheap or free if you want to. So just another thing to keep in mind. The third resource at your campus that you probably don't use, but you should, is your campus's tutoring center. Typically, these centers have all different kinds of names. I've worked at schools where it's like the Writing Center, the Learning Center, the Success Center, Academic Success Center, Academic Resource Center. So there's lots of different names, so just kind of figure out what it's called at your school. But these are always free, and they usually offer tutoring in any class you can think of or any class where you're struggling. So just to give you guys an idea, I have worked at like 3 or 4 different writing centers at both the 4-year and the 2-year level, and we help with everything related to writing. So I've helped students with cover letters for scholarships, resumes, brainstorming their essay, grammar issues, editing issues, thesis statements. So really it's like a one-stop shop for everything to do with writing, right? So any academic resource center is going to have tutoring available to you. So if you are struggling in chemistry or math or anything like that, that campus resource center will have some sort of help or assistance for you in whatever subject you're taking. Now, sometimes it kind of depends on the school and their tutoring model. So sometimes it'll be peer tutors, and usually these peer tutors have taken the class and done really well. That there's typically a requirement that they had to have gotten an A or at the very least a B in that class. Other times it's actual professors or people who at least hold a master's degree. So they have a lot of discipline knowledge in that specific field who can help you. And sometimes it's just a combo. So it's peer tutors mixed with instructors. So the school where I work, it's a combination. So sometimes a peer tutor will help a student in literature, and then sometimes a professor instructor will also be helping that student. Both of those have those pros and cons. Sometimes it's helpful if you hit up a tutor who's also an instructor at the school, because they might know like that professor's kind of preference. For example, when I'm helping a student and I know they have a specific professor, I kind of know I'll just throw out an example. I know that this professor does not like what's called a list thesis, thesis video coming up soon. So I will kind of let that student know, hey, just FYI, your professor doesn't really prefer list theses. So let's revise this thesis a bit. So there's kind of pros and cons to which tutor you get and which kind of tutoring system a school has. Just be aware of it and see what works for you and see if there's any specific kind of tutor that works for you. The third resource that you are probably not using, but you should, is the library, as well as the librarians who work there. Your library has a lot of awesome resources that you may not be aware of or may not be using. So I would say that the top one for me for a library are the bookable study rooms. So almost every campus I've worked at had study rooms that students could reserve, and they would have then a space for up to 4 hours where they could study, do homework, work on group projects, whatever they needed to do could be done in that study room. I've also worked at colleges where they had like a small theater you could book. So if you had to watch like a documentary for class, you could rent out that small theater and play that documentary, and you could do that with your fellow students from that class. So there's lots of different kind of like resources there as far as actual space that you can use. So obviously, you know, every library has those, like, I think they're called study cubbies. I like the word cubby, don't you? Study cubbies. Every library has those little like study cubbies, which are really helpful, but sometimes, I don't know, I get distracted really easily. So I need like a lot of silence and just space for when I'm writing or studying or doing anything like that. So I really needed those study rooms. So you have the study cubbies and the study rooms. So just that space to kind of take time for yourself and do your work will be really, really helpful for you. Other resources that libraries often have are workshops. For example, research workshops, MLA or APA documentation workshops, author talks. They will have film showings. Sometimes they will even lend you a textbook for a class for the whole semester. It really just kind of depends on your campus library, but make sure you do your own investigation, your own research, and you figure out what type of services they have that you can take advantage of. I also want to mention and give a shout out to librarians because they're amazing, and librarians can be like your best friend during your academic journey. So librarians can help you research topics. Most colleges require some sort of level of research. A lot of classes involve some sort of research. So librarians will help you when you are stuck. Not only are they like, I say this very lovingly, but librarians are like, they're like the super nerds of academia, and like they have degrees in how to find information and how to find accurate academic information. It's like amazing. So I'll just give you guys a little example. When I was writing my dissertation, I was looking for specific scientific articles on a topic, and I did my research. I couldn't find anything. I like exhausted all of my tricks and tools. So I ended up emailing a librarian at my school, told that person what I was looking for, and within like a half hour, that librarian sent me 60 sources to choose from, which was astonishing. So that was like, it helped me out so much during that process. So if you're stuck during that process, if you are stuck when you're doing research, reach out to a librarian and ask them for help, because they get really excited when they get to hunt for information. Another way librarians can help is often they are really, really well versed in academic documentation and the different style books. I haven't gone too much into this on my channel, but different disciplines have different ways in which they expect scholars and students who are in that discipline to document information. So you have MLA, which stands for Modern Language Association. You have APA, which stands for American Psychology Association. Hopefully I got that right. You have Chicago style, and different disciplines use different kind of styles, right? So often librarians are pretty knowledgeable about those different styles and style books and can double check your sources and that you did them correctly. Now, I don't want to like volunteer all the librarians in academia to help you with figuring out if you cited something correctly, but I did want to mention it in case you have used a writing center and maybe the writing center wasn't too much help. You've Googled it, you've kind of exhausted all of your other resources. Librarians are often really good people to ask about that type of stuff. The last but not least resource I wanted to mention are professors. Now I know this seems crazy because it's not like they are a facility that offers any type of service, but professors themselves often have a wealth of knowledge that you can tap into. So let's talk about this really quickly. Getting a tenure track position in academia is highly, highly competitive. So usually for one position, a college will receive up to starting like minimum 100 applicants up to like 1,000 if it's a really popular school that people want to work out. So just getting a job as a full-time professor means that person is probably in the top of their field. It also means that they have a lot of knowledge about their specific area of interest and in the discipline itself. So how does this help you as a student? Well, if you are interested in researching or you want to perhaps go into a similar area of interest as the professor, hit that person up and see if you can be their research assistant or if they need any research assistance. So this kind of goes for any discipline. I was a research assistant myself in grad school I got to help out with the professor who was writing a book on copyright law and composition. It was a really great experience. I know other undergrads who were able to be their professor's research assistant for the science field. So really kind of ask your professor, especially if they have an area of interest that's similar to one that you are thinking about going into, ask them if there's any opportunity for you to help them in their own research. That may be paid, it may not be paid, but kind of whatever you get out of that will benefit you. Other ways that professors are a good resource is they can connect you to campus jobs. So I'll give you another example. I have lots of examples today. All right. I'll give you another example. One of my students took freshman composition with me. She and I struck up a rapport, and when I was in a position to when I needed a peer tutor for my class the following year, I asked her if she wanted to be my peer tutor, and she was my peer tutor for like 3 additional years, and she was also able to get a job at the tutoring center because of that. So she was able to support herself and her college journey by working on campus, and that really helped her out, and that helped her out when she wanted to transfer too. Okay, so another way that professors can help you is when it comes to letters of recommendation. So I've been asked, I get asked for letters of recommendation a lot, and it could be anything from the student wants to go to grad school and they need a letter of recommendation for that. It could be that they're looking to get a job, they happen to need a letter for that. Often it's for scholarships, but the more that you know your professors, the better they will be at writing a strong letter of recommendation for you. They can also advocate for you beyond the letter of recommendation. I had a student who was applying to the school where I got my PhD. I was able to contact the president of my formal school and offer more information about that student and kind of advocate for her and that she get into that school. So professors are really good for letters of recommendation and possibly providing information that goes beyond that. You never know, so it's always a good opportunity, and it's just a good practice to really get to know your professors at both the community college level and the undergrad level, because they can really help be your advocates for you. Another way that professors are a good resource is that they themselves know a lot about college success. So they have gone through undergraduate education, graduate education, and most often they've gone through the PhD system. They know a lot of stuff about how to do well in school. And yeah, I mean, some of them came from privileged backgrounds, I'm sure, and they had, models to look at. Their parents and grandparents might have gone to college, but a lot of them are also first generation college students who maybe were the first in their family to go to school. So they know a lot of stuff. They know a lot of tricks about how to do well in school, and they can share those with you. So really, ask them questions during their office hours. Ask them how they did well. Ask them what they did right and ask them what they did wrong, and listen to what they say and kind of implement that in your own academic journey. Another way that professors are often good resources is if you yourself are interested in going to academia ask them questions for what they did and how they did it. For example, one of my students wants to be a professor when she's older, so I'm kind of telling her things she can do at the community college level and at her undergrad level to set herself up for success later on after she does get her PhD and she's ready to go on the job market. So if this is something you're interested in, you're thinking about going to research, you're thinking about going to academia, really ask your professors how they did it and what they did to get in that position and where they are now. How do you connect to all of these resources? Number one, check out your college's website. Now, sometimes colleges' websites can be awesome and they're up to date, and sometimes they look like they were created in the 90s and they have not been updated since then. But that should really be your first stop. Check out your college website, look at things like, look at the health center, look at what kind of services they offer, look at the gym, see if they have a class schedule for gym classes. Like, really explore your college's website. Another way that you can kind of be connected to these resources is to connect with your school on social media. So often schools will have Instagram accounts, and even the specific kind of facilities, like, for example, your school's library may have its own specific Instagram or Twitter or whatever they use that will keep you updated with the latest information. So really check out your main campus's social media, but also all of these resources and different facilities, because they most likely have their own specific social media channels that will give you updated new information that may not be on the school's main website. Another way to be connected to these resources is to look at the signs on campus. I cannot stress this enough. My school will put tons and tons of signs around campus, all over the place, advertising events, programs, workshops, and students just kind of don't look at them. I don't know what it is. I think maybe they're just focused on other things, but really check out the signs on campus because they often contain a lot of information. And most schools have a policy that whatever is posted on campus has to be approved by the school itself. So make sure you're looking for those signs, those flyers, all of those kind of visual cues that will connect you to those resources as well. Don't just ignore them. Another way of connecting to these college resources and services is usually in the first couple of weeks of the semester or quarter, depending on where you're going to school, they have some sort of college service fair. So often these college resources and services will have some sort of booth or table where they will explain to you what they do and how to access their services. So just keep an eye out for those. Sometimes they're not called college services fair, they're called something like, I don't know, Anteater Days, right, for UCI. Keep an eye out for those service fairs and attend one or two and just see what your college has to offer. Another way to connect to these services or resources is to visit the building that they're located in. So actually physically go to the health center and ask the person who's at the front desk, hey, what do you guys do here? And kind of get the rundown. So that can be really helpful. Go to the library and talk to a librarian, ask them what services they have for students. Visiting those physical spaces can be really helpful to you, and they will also help you figure out who offers what and what service. Last but not least, for how to connect to these resources and services is to read your emails. Now, I know, reading emails is boring. I get it. But read those emails. Typically, schools will send out one or two emails a week with just kind of a rundown of what's happening on campus. Different kind of services or programs at the school will ask the PR department to include their latest workshop or whatever. There's just information in those general emails that, yes, I admit when I was a student, I would just kind of erase them and delete them and not even read them, which was a mistake. So make sure you're reading those general informational emails because often they contain a lot of really important information that will help you in your academic journey. All right, so those are 5 college resources that you're probably not using, but you should. Part 1. Keep a lookout for part 2. Once I post it, I will link it in the description box or in the cards above. So let me know, what resources have you found really helpful on your campus? What has kind of helped you in your academic journey? And make recommendations as well. So if I missed something in this video, go ahead and make recommendations to your fellow students and scholars in the comment section below. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I will see you later. Remember, college is hard, but it's not impossible. Let's support one another on our academic journeys. Have a great week, and I will see you later. Bye. I'm waiting for my dog to settle down. He's now making himself a bed on the couch. Cool, I didn't like that pillow anyway. I actually really like that pillow. Animals are great, aren't they? But maybe it's because they don't know what they do. Maybe. Hi, Disco.